CombatJackShow.com, www.pncradio.fm, DallasPenn.com, SneakerTube.tv, PleaseDon'tStare.com. Yo, we got the Duck Down Takeover right now.
Yeah.
It's not a race.
It's a marathon.
It's a marathon.
It's a marathon.
It's a long motherfucking marathon.
I mean, honestly, did you think almost 20 years ago,
Bucktown
would be right here,
Dru Down,
in the forefront of hip hop?
Nah.
Really,
I appreciate that, but we're kind of in the back.
When I say the forefront, I don't mean for pop markets. I mean for independent artists, as a model for artists to be independent and to develop fan bases and to stay alive.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Can we rewind? Because nobody even...
Right.
I shouldn't even done it yet.
Who's in the building right now?
Who are we talking to? Internet's right now sitting down in the Combat Jack Show. We have Dru Ha, co-founder, Duck Down Records. I mean, let's just take it back to Enter the Stage. I can't wait for the 20th anniversary. The 20th anniversary of that album. I'm putting a hammer in a backpack. And I'm going on the subway and I'm assaulting myself.
You the man.
I'm a fuck myself up.
You the man.
On the Franklin Avenue shuttle.
Yo, for real, man.
People gonna find me bleeding from the head, but I did it to myself.
Yo, internets, give a warm round of applause to Dru Ha and Sean Price in the building. What's up, sir?
Mic Tyson.
Hello, sir.
What's going on, y'all?
I'm great.
Yo, man, I'm so happy to see y'all, man. Dru Ha,
I'm glad to be up here, man. This is like an honor. I see this nonstop on the internet.
We don't stop.
On Twitter, everywhere. Combat Jack Show. So I'm like, yo, I'm just glad I got the invite.
Man, welcome to the Combat Jack Show.
Thank
man.
you.
Yo, it's been how long, man? 18 years? 18? How long?
I mean, we did what? The 15-year anniversary 2 years ago. So I say 17.
17 years.
Yeah.
It's a long time, man.
Yeah, man.
Like, how do you stay in this game so long and keep doing it, B?
You gotta have a high tolerance for I'm on the bridge.
Yes. I'm on the bridge. I'm on the ledge, right?
No, I'm on the bridge means that when like you're waiting for someone and they say I'm on the bridge, you just don't know how long that means.
Right. You don't know what bridge it is.
Right, you don't know what bridge it is, and then it also means it's like, all right, well, it's not fully Brooklyn, but it's not yet into Manhattan.
Right.
So you just have to like be able to accept that.
Well, it could be the Tappan Z. You know, it could be the Tappan Z. So I mean,
George Washington.
You got jokes.
Now, before we get into the history, man, I just wanted to know, man, because I was so impressed last year. Are you running the marathon this year?
Well, it's funny because both of my coaches are here right now.
Yeah,
like,
you got
both of literally the guys that coached me through it, Dallas and Sean. I finished the marathon. It was a miracle that I got through it.
Yo, how was that?
It was them 40 ounces.
How was that experience, man?
It was crazy. It really was. It's like, honestly, you hear about it, like people say, I'm going to run the marathon, but you just don't understand what you got to how you got to go inside yourself, pause, to really get yourself through it.
I don't think there's a pause to going inside yourself.
It might be.
I mean, depending on how many fingers you used.
No fingers were used. Just 2 feet, your knees, your ankle.
Whoa.
Yo, Drew, how did you train for that, man?
Honestly, I never was a runner. So first understand.
Do you like running?
Not really.
Okay.
And I ran for a cause. Like I was running for the Alzheimer's Foundation. My father 2 years ago had passed away from it, and I just decided that I wanted to do something monumental in his memory. And so I said, look, I'm going to raise some money. I'm going to run the marathon. And at that stage, I had never run more than 2-3 miles.
Wow.
Like that. I was just a regular runner, just like someone that does it to get their exercise on.
Just leaving the scene of a crime type shit.
well, for me, running around Washington Square Park or something like that. But I see where you're coming from. Anyway, just when you train, and I started in like July and August, and the marathon every year is in November. Just every week, you just keep doing a little further than you've ever done in your life. So 1 minute you're doing 3 miles, the next weekend you're doing 4, until you just work your way up. And I honestly, I had the willpower, and that's what it takes, a lot of willpower and perseverance, much like this music business,
of course,
to stay in it and get it done. And I found a way.
At a certain point where you like, yo, did I make a mistake?
Hell yeah.
By signing up for this?
That's the wall. Where did you hit that wall?
Mile 8.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
No, you know what? Mile 8, I saw Steele from Smith & Wesson met me out in Brooklyn. I don't know the street number that I was on, but Steele from Smith & Wesson hit me at mile 8, and he started running with me, and he had a camera, and that just kind of put a little more battery in my back to find a way to get it done. Now, I don't know. My main wall was like mile 18. That's where my family was. Like I saw my brother.
How long was that? How long does it take?
That was about 3.5 hours for me. If you're good, if you're like a real runner, that should be about 2 hours and change at most. But for me, it was like 3.5. And I saw my family. My brother was out there, and he was like, "Yo, you don't look so good." And I was like, "Motherfucker, I don't look so good. That just took me 18 miles to get to you." He's like, "Well, you only got 8 more to go."
Right.
I'm mad. I mean, with all your connections, you didn't use the Katie Holmes subway trick. What's the Tom Cruise's ex-wife, Katie Holmes?
Did she do that?
She got onto some subway. Yeah. She did it.
I thought about it.
You know, they disappeared her for a minute and then threw her up at the end.
Now you didn't have runner's diarrhea or anything like that, did you? But you know when you saw,
I made it all the way through. No bathroom breaks, nothing. Mm-hmm. Nah, I was good. I was good that way.
So you have any more marathons or any other physically challenging? Monumental events in your future?
I told you earlier off this interview, I said only if something calls for it. If there's like a cause, I won't say that I'll never do it again, but I don't do this recreationally, and this is not, to some people it's fun and it's challenging and it's something they do, it's a part of their life. I was just, for lack of a better words, I was just kind of running through that lifestyle.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it was great to accomplish it, something that you could put on, cross off the bucket list.
Well, congratulations, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
What's going on, Sean?
Chilling.
It's finally here, right?
Yeah.
Mic Tyson, right?
Yep.
October 30th, right?
Yes, sir.
No tricks, no treats?
Yeah.
Swine on pineapple?
Swine on pineapple.
Swine on pineapple, my dude?
It's ready to go.
I was listening to that today, man. I like that little, it's a freestyle, right?
Yeah.
What's the science behind it, man?
I'll be honest with you. I didn't like it.
I had nothing to do.
I didn't like that shit.
I had nothing to do.
That's why I didn't like it. It was like, you know what? Fuck it.
I was waiting for the drums.
Like, fuck it. I'm just gonna do this shit.
Was that some random shit, man?
Yeah. Just having fun.
Okay. Yeah. Did you have fun?
Yeah. And I got 2 more too.
Two more that you're about to drop before the album comes out. Mm-hmm. Yo, Dru.
Yes, sir.
You've worked. You've been in this game for a long time, B. You worked with Vanilla Ice, B.
Damn, you did your research. Were you Narwhal?
I always do my research, man. You worked with Vanilla Ice, B.
Yeah, well, I was an intern at the time
at SBK Records.
At SBK Records,
right?
So I was doing nothing but picking up fax papers with Vanilla Ice, radio reports on it, taking it back to the music department. But yeah, I was in the building of a major label that was working acts like Vanilla Ice, Arrested Development,
Teenage Ninja Mutant Turtles. Wasn't that a big soundtrack on SBK? I think that was a huge soundtrack back then.
That might have been like right before I started doing my internship.
Okay. Now, were you always a hip hop head? Were you always?
I was.
Now, how did it feel, man?
You used to rap.
Well, you used to really, really rap.
Yeah. Well, I think in hip hop, it's a lot like baseball. I say this a lot. Like, a lot of people do it recreationally. Like, they'll play in the backyard. They'll throw it around. And I don't think in hip-hop it's much different. It's just a matter of, like, understanding where you are. Are you doing this in the rec league? Are you doing this in college? Or are you doing this in the pros? And so I think a lot of people that listen to hip-hop experiment with it and like to freestyle with their friends when they're drunk or high or whatever. But it may not necessarily be for them to do as a career.
Mm-hmm. So at a certain point, you thought it might be for you?
Yeah, I had that short dream of doing it, and Buckshot actually let me jump on the Enter the Stage album, and I have a record on there called "You the Man," with Havoc from Mobb Deep, Smith & Wesson, and Black Moon. So like.
That's an impressive lineup, B.
Yeah, that was it. And then we started going around. We'd have to do like the Stretch Armstrong show, Bobito, different radio shows back then. Wild Man Steve, and back then it wasn't as
Steve. Wow.
Yeah, back then it wasn't as like cool to just say you had a rhyme at all these shows, and when you would go in front, I just recognized that type of pressure, and it wasn't like everyone would be like, "Yo, that was cool." Like they would go for your head, like they would try to chop your head off if it wasn't correct. Certain clubs and stuff, and I just saw the way, the MCs I had around me, I realized that it was a different level and a different speed.
So you put a lot into it, but you saw like the true MCs, and you were like, you know what? God bless them for being on their path. This is not necessarily mine. Let me take the executive route.
Yeah, absolutely. And not even thinking executive, but just let me find a way to help and be involved. And that is just like sports too, keeping that analogy of like, you may not just become the coach, like the head coach, but you could be, helping a batting coach, or you could be somewhat involved behind the scenes. And
like Dru Ha's the Buck Showalter of rap. All right? Buck's a good motherfucking coach. He didn't break out of the minor leagues, but he coached winners, and he knows how to tell people what to do to become winners, to become great players.
When I started, like, Buckshot was working with a DJ named Chuck Chillout.
Chuck Chillout.
Right? Everybody, if you go back in hip-hop...
Woods Productions.
98.7 Kiss FM, like Friday nights, you would remember that name. And so that was his manager, and I was just like an intern at the label. But along the way, things happened between them.
Wait, Chuck Chillout was managing Buckshot?
Chuck Chillout was managing Black Moon.
Black Moon.
He discovered them.
Wow.
And he put Black Moon onto Nervous Records. And I was an intern at Nervous Records.
You had left SBK. You were now at Nervous.
I didn't leave SBK. I graduated from college.
Right.
I graduated college, and I got a break from actually someone that I interned for at SBK hooked me up with the job at Nervous. His name is Rob Stone. And he's the founder of Cornerstone and Fader magazine. So it just shows you, like, this is the relationship level of, you always hear that word, relationships, but, take care of them and nurture them, and sometimes they come back to help you out.
So at this point, though, you knew that you weren't leaving the music industry.
I had vision. I was taking my LSTATs. I had plans of becoming a lawyer.
Really?
Yeah, because my pops was a lawyer, and that's where my head was at. I was like, you know what? I want to be a lawyer like my father. And the music industry was cool, and I was still doing what I was doing, but I really thought I would be going to law school at some point. I meet Buckshot up at Nervous, and things don't work out between him and Chuck, and that's kind of what I'm saying. Like, I wasn't at that stage prepared at all to be a manager or an executive. Like, I wasn't even in my mind frame.
Now, was it a little intimidating?
Absolutely.
To take on that responsibility?
Yes, a whole lot intimidating. But, when you have a partner like Buck, who just was kind of like calling the shots, and someone that's, things were happening for him quickly as in the group Black Moon, and he gave me that power. Like, he instilled that. He was like, you take that call. You book that show right now. Like, when someone's doing that behind the scenes and they feed you that, then they put you in that position, and that they have your back, it's like, what? You can't really go wrong. Right.
No one's screaming at you. No one's saying you fucked up. It's just like, we got this.
Well, it's like an understanding that you're going to go through it together.
Right.
And so I big Buck up for that opportunity and trusted me to, like, allow me to grow and make mistakes along the way, which we made a lot of. But that's the way he wanted it. I remember setting up meetings with Buck where I was trying to get him meetings with managers. Like, it just wasn't in my mind frame. I was like, all right, let me hook you up with the manager of Cool G Rap or the manager of Nas, or like, we were taking certain meetings, and Buck would come out of those meetings going, that's not right. I think we could just do this ourselves.
And you were like, nah, or like, let's take some more meetings.
Nah, yeah, I kind of said, all right, well, let's just keep giving it a shot.
Right. What was the water? Was there a watershed moment? Was there one watershed moment where you said, oh wait a minute, we're doing this? Or was it just the cumulative efforts where you finally said, "Oh shit, look how far we've come"?
Was it cash money in your hand?
Yeah, we started making some money, which was good because they were getting a lot of shows at the time. I don't know if it was any one moment. I remember one moment when I was with Buck where we went to go pick up a deposit, and from these Italian guys that were running this club, and I almost got my ass whooped. And because I went to like demand the deposit, and Buck was with me, and he just watched me do all the talking, and then we left. These guys, we didn't leave. We got like basically chased out of this club, and we had to go back that night with like all of Franklin Avenue. Buck brought like 30 people back with him, but I remember like
and you got your money.
We got our money, and Buck was just like, "Yo, I like the way you handled that, and you didn't back down from the situation, and you were smart enough to run also when when it was time to run and not be a hero."
To back down, right?
Yeah, like he knew, he just kind of understood that I was what I was,
Right.
like I wasn't pretending to be something that I wasn't, and he also knew that I had a genuine love for the music, which I did, and I think that meant a lot to him also.
Now, when you were working at SBK and you were working on projects like Vanilla Ice, did it fuck with you that you were working with, at the time, he was like the epitome of like all the shit that was wrong in hip hop. Little did we know that the game would change, but at the time he was like,
you just said it though. It's like little did we know,
right?
And I think that's what it was. It was like MC Hammer, Vanilla Ice. But I was also behind the scenes at SBK working with the group called Fifth Platoon, and they were out at Queens.
Corona Queens.
Around the
corner
from
Platoon.
Dwayne,
this is the only
my
place
people.
I could say that name. And
My people. Actually,
so I kind of got assigned to that. You know what I mean? And they had a record out called The Party Line, and they were actually hip hop dudes from Queens that the label was trying to make them make corny records too. And this is my first exposure to the music business, period. So I didn't really know. Like, I was trying to get Red Alert to play their record. I was trying to do certain things for them that it was way more authentic. But the major label system kind of just waters it down. And back then, it really watered it down.
If you were not commercial, if you were not pop, if you were not sell out, you could not sell.
Right, you weren't on a major label back. This is before 50, before Tribe Called Quest, before KRS-One. Like, we're going so far back now that these are like, they were looking for commercial home runs.
Right. I mean, they were really looking to Motown rap.
Yeah, Arrested Development. Like, that was so, it wasn't like I was Vanilla Ice, Dru Ha. I mean, I was just an intern, and this is a big machine. This is a major label
at the time.
Yeah, and so I just got to see a little bit and experience a little bit of what it was like to work at a label. And it's so ironic that I would go so 100% independent from that experience. Like, I never have been back in a system like that in 18 years.
Enter the stage, blows up. You guys have momentum. You guys start your management company. What are the first groups you're signing?
Well, the first one was Smith & Wesson.
Smith & Wesson.
So they came with The Shining, and then Smith & Wesson introduced us to Helter Skelter.
Now, what'd you think of this guy when you first met him, man?
He was cool. Dru was cool.
No, he asked me what I thought of you.
Oh.
Yeah. What'd you think of Sean when you first met him, man?
Well, I thought of Ruck. I was just... I was a fan, man. I really was. I was still... That was my problem back then, is I was still too connected to it. I was
But
such
is
a
that
fan.
really a problem, to be a fan and be a professional?
A little bit. I did. You know what? You're right. I did walk a fine line, but I was a fan. So I all five of them, like when I met them, and then right after I met OGCs, and they were the Fab Five, but even prior to the Fab Five, it was just like I heard Blah. That's how I got introduced to these guys. There's a record called Blah, which was the B-side to La Fleur La Fly Scotia.
Yeah.
And that was their demo. And so it was Louisville and Top Dog and Strang and Rock. I was like telling all my college friends that I went to school with that loved hip hop. I'm like, yo, there's these five.
This is the shit. This is the shit.
You can't believe. And I'm like, each one's got their own personality. And
Worst song ever.
I love Blah. To this day, I love Blah.
Now, what do your parents?
It got me on though.
Now, what are your parents thinking, man? Here you are, man, nice Jewish kid. You're supposed to go to law school, and you're hanging out with all these rowdy Brooklyn Negroes, man. What are they thinking, man?
So supportive, man.
Really?
So supportive. 100%. Like, my mom and my dad, rest in peace. It never was, black, white. I know that it's going to sound cliche.
Okay.
It just didn't matter. Like I'm from White Plains, New York.
Right.
And in White Plains, it's a suburb of New York. But it's a very diverse city. And the school that I went to, that I grew up in, it was very diverse. So I had black kids, white kids, Spanish kids, Chinese kids. It's a melting pot. And that's what White Plains is.
Shout to the Galleria Mall on Main Street right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, all they selling right now, though, is fitted hats, sneakers,
still open?
and baby carriages.
Wow.
That became the Westchester is now the fancy White Plains Mall. The Galleria, that shit became the hood mall.
And I get like the thugs of White Plains that still hit me up to this day, like, yo, Dru Ha, you don't big us up enough.
Oh, man.
Like, I still get that. Or like, yo, you don't come around the Galleria anymore. And I'm like, well, I'm an old man. Now what do you want me to do? Walk
I don't
around the
see
mall?
you on the Metro North no more.
You're not keeping it real, son. Yo, how did the management company morph into the label?
Because we recognized we weren't getting enough money. Just point blank. We sold, Enter the Stage sold over 400,000 records. Smith & Wesson's The Shining sold over 300.
Which is big for a record.
Wow.
Independent.
Independent.
I mean, those that are doing it independent today, that number really can translate to you even more so than back then.
Of course.
Because back then, that number was garbage, right?
Of course, of course.
Let's be honest. Like
if you were platinum, you were like, eh.
Yeah, if you were platinum, that was like, but those that are doing it independent today, okay? If you're Kendrick Lamar or but he's not even because he's on Interscope. But if you're some Currency or some of these guys that we celebrate as successful artists, and Big Crit or whoever they don't even, well, not Wiz because he's got mega, but
right.
where I'm going
even Crit is on a major.
And they don't break 100,000 units.
Right.
So we're talking about 350,000 units. And let me break this down to everyone listening because I know it gets real confusing. But the one rule of thumb that you can use in the music industry, or you used to be able to use, was $10 a record, because that's what it used to be. And that doesn't mean that that was your profit point, but that means that it was $10 was what you could multiply it by. So 350,000 records was $3,500,000. Then you back out your expenses.
Right.
So just whatever they were, video, promotion, co-op, advertising, marketing, all that. There's a lot of expenses that go into it. But I don't care how many expenses go into it. You back it out, you're still left with millions.
Yeah, that's a sizable amount.
Right, and the reason I say those that are doing it independent today, because there's people that celebrate going, yo, we did good, man. We sold like 25,000. And guess what? That's $250,000.
Right.
So they did do good. But back then, it was incredible. Back then, it was like hitting the lottery.
Back then, we were spoiled, though. Back then, but that was the business model that worked.
Right, because we didn't think it was good. We were upset with the numbers. And anyway, we got such a small percentage of what was probably owed to us.
Right.
And that's when I was really, when I say us, I'm saying for Black Moon, because they signed that contract. I was not involved in that, but I was involved with the process of then trying to see what they should have made.
Right.
And we just started realizing it wasn't there. And we're like, the only way to do it, it was at the time, it was like Bad Boy and some other labels that were springing up. We felt like, well, we had to put our mark and do something ourselves too. And that's what we did. We had Helter Skelter and OGC, and we said, we were not going to take them through that nervous system, and we went and shopped the deal, and we were fortunate enough to land one with Priority Records.
How did that happen, man? How'd you walk through that door and get signed, man?
It's again, this is for everyone listening, trying to do it. It's easy to do it, and this is not to take anything away from ourselves, but when you got something that's hot, when you are Kendrick Lamar right now, or you are Currency, or one of these artists, it's a lot easier to get a deal when you have something that's popping off.
And you had numerous groups, too.
We had Black Moon and Smith & Wesson. So I'd love to give myself the credit and say, oh, I was just so cunning. But
was there a bidding war going on? I mean, did you...
Yeah, it was a couple of labels. It was Leroy Cohen was definitely in Buck's ear.
So you guys could have been at Def Jam.
Probably should have been.
Why didn't you go there?
That honestly was probably a little bit of Buck's call. I think that he wanted some identity, and even then, it would have probably been small fish, big pond. Right. Even then, because we were still not on the level of like the LL Cool J's, the EPMDs, certain things that were coming through the building at the time. And when we got the offer from Priority, which was predominantly a West Coast label, and they had like Ice Cube, and they had just come off NWA, and they had just signed Master P. I think that to me and Buck, it was attractive that we could have this New York setup based with a successful label.
Your own lane. Yeah. You had your own lane. It wasn't a crowded house.
Without having to go to that office in New York City with the guy with the big high back chair.
Yo, we met with Lighty, rest in peace. Chris Lighty. I remember having a meeting with Chris, and he was like, "Yo, Drew, when you gonna come get this money, man?" And it was just like
soon.
You just remember like certain things of like you're kind of trained in the industry too, through the music. You're trained not to trust the business. You see the videos with like the fake Jerry Hellers, and you see if that was around the time of Tribe releasing Industry Rule number
4080,
right? So you're hearing these things and you're like, I'm not gonna fall victim. We know better than this.
And that was the height of the keep it real era also. Like the industry started being fake, so everybody wanted to keep it real almost to a fault.
That's what I'm saying. It's like someone should slap me upside my head.
But you know what? We'll talk about that. Listen, you're tuned into the Combat Jack Show. Let's go to a music break.
Internets.
Please
don't stare.com.
TheCombatJackShow.com.